Good morning.
Good morning. One moment. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the West Grey Public Meeting for September 19th, 2022. On item number 1, I'm calling our meeting to order. All members of council are present, with the exception of Councillor Jeffrey Shea at this time. When and if he does attend this meeting, we'll have that acknowledged. We do have a quorum for the meeting. So at this time, I would ask members of council and those listening in to take a moment of silence. And this is in recognition of Queen Elizabeth's funeral and the passing of Queen Elizabeth. Thank you. So at this time, Communications Coordinator Ferguson, could you please explain the features of our meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. Before I begin, if you get disconnected, you can dial in at 1-647-558-0588 and enter the meeting ID for this meeting, which is 849-6974-7298. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is being hosted on Zoom meeting software, but is also being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation and comments are not monitored on YouTube and must be done through the Zoom meeting software. Both members of staff and council have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software. Members of council and staff will be raising their hands physically on camera to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical
corporate communications, Ferguson, I'm seeing that the audio is not improving at this time. I'm hearing an echo. So I'm going to ask all members of council, whether you're in the chamber with me or online, to just put your volume down. And it's put it down really low, and it's only when you're speaking that you'll have to put that up. So I thank you. If there's any other issue with the audio, we'll have to figure it out. But may I please ask you to repeat it, because it's really important for people to understand how they can participate. So please use your mic. Thank you, Planner Spencer.
If everyone can just absolutely mute themselves, I think that someone has something on, which is the echo issue. So if everyone can just mute themselves, that would resolve the issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that suggestion. So with that, corporate communications, Ferguson, please start over again. It's most important. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Hutchinson. Before I begin, if you get disconnected, you can dial in at 1-647-558-0588 and enter the meeting ID for this meeting, which is 849-6974-7298. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is being hosted on Zoom meeting software, but is also being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation and comments are not monitored on YouTube and must be done through the Zoom meeting software. Both members of staff and council have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software. Members of council and staff will be raising their hands physically on camera to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance throughout the duration of the meeting, please send a chat message to myself, Sheila Ferguson, Communications Coordinator, and I will attempt to assist you.
Thank you very much for that. And I just want to mention Chair Hutchinson will be conducting or chairing today's Committee of Adjustment. It's Mayor Robinson this morning. So I just wanted to, just for clarity for anybody listening in and for voice recognition. Okay, we are on item number 2, which is the purpose of the meeting. And I will ask for the acknowledgement of the reason for this meeting from staff, please.
The purpose of this public meeting is to review applications for proposed amendments to West Gray zoning bylaw number 37-2006, and to allow interested members of the public the opportunity to ask questions or offer comments with regard to the applications. Council will not make a decision on the applications at this meeting. Based on the recommendations and information received at this public meeting, amending bylaws may be presented for approval at a regular council meeting. A public registry is available by email at sferguson@westgray.com. And if any members of the public would like to be notified in writing of the decision on any application, they are to provide their name and mailing address for the registry. This will also allow for notice of an Ontario Land Tribunal if the decision of an application is appealed.
Thank you very much for that. We are on item number 3, which is declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. At this time, members of council, is there anything to declare? Seeing none, we are now moving on to item number 4, ZA 15.2022-23430, concession to WGR. And I have a question with regard to that, but 4.1, application of zoning amendment, and 4.2, Planner L. Spencer report. Before I go any further and identify the process, I just want to confirm that the address is correct. And I would just ask Planner Spencer if 23430 concession to WGR is correct.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I would just take 1 second to verify through the property file. There seems to be a misconception, and I apologize for that, but just if I can have 1 moment. Thank you.
Very much appreciate your time on this. 1 moment, please, everyone.
If I may, through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So I do believe there is a typo. The address should be 234330, concession to WGR.
Thank you. So that does not impact at all. It's just as a typo. So we will continue with our meeting. And I will also acknowledge Councillor Shea has joined the meeting. Good morning. So we are on item number 4, which is ZA 15.2022, and the number is 234330, concession to WGR. We just note the change there. 4.1, application of zoning amendment. 4.2, Planner L. Spencer report. Madam CAO, would you please read the recommendation at hand? Oh, pardon me. Thank you very much for that. So who will be reading it? Planner Spencer, could you please read the recommendation at hand?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. The recommendation is that council receive Planner Spencer's report and proceed to consider first, second, and third reading of the bylaw at a future council meeting that is scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you. So I look for a mover and a seconder. We will then have the Planner Spencer's report, questions from members of council, and then call the vote on the particular motion. And then we'll continue on with the meeting for 4.3, 4.4, 4.5. So the motion has been read. Is there a mover for the motion? Councillor Hamilton, is there a seconder? I'll go online to see. Deputy Mayor. All right. Good morning, Planner Spencer, and thank you very much for being here. And if you could provide your presentation, we would appreciate it.
And thank you, through you, Madam Chair. The property is municipally identified as 234330, concession 2, west of the Garifraxa Road, and legally identified as lots 30 through 32, concession 2 through 3, west of the Garifraxa Road, in the geographic township of Bentic. 2 related applications are scheduled to be heard by the Committee of Adjustment today, both those files being related to B09 2022 and B10 2022. This application is associated with a recommendation for provisional consents to implement the recommendation of an associated environmental impact study through site plan control, and to recognize the lot frontage of the newly created parcels and the retained parcel, and to further implement a holding provision on a portion of the retained lands. The purpose and effect of those applications that are going to be heard by Committee of Adjustment later today are as follows. The purpose of these applications, first being B09-2022, is to sever approximately 0.8 hectares of vacant rural lands and retain approximately 54.2 hectares of vacant land, the effect of which will create a new non-farm rural lot. B10-2022 in effect is the same, to create approximately 0.8 hectares of vacant rural lands and retain approximately 53.6 hectares of vacant land, the effect of which will also create a non-farm rural lot. The effect of the two applications, if provisionally approved by Committee of Adjustment, will see the subject lands form 3 parcels, including the retained. Staff do recommend that the bylaw be read at a future council meeting as a decision on the file is made by the committee in favor as provisional consent. Comments were retained and received from the Conservation Authority and pre-circulation process. In addition, there were comments received from the county and pre-circulation process, in addition to an environmental impact study received by AWS, which was also reviewed by the Conservation Authority and the County of Grey and the municipality. At this point in time, the recommendation is to proceed with the application. And if there's any further question or comment that anyone may have, I'm happy to elaborate further. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. At this time, members of council, are there any questions? Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this is to Planner Spencer. In section 3 of your report on page 22 of 24, there's a reference in the last paragraph to not being allowed to have a secondary structure on the building or dwelling. And I'm wondering, how will that be reflected in the bylaw, and will it be reflected in the bylaw?
Planner Spencer, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, that it will be reflected in inability for that to occur in future unless they apply for a zoning amendment. So that is a consideration that was discussed with the Conservation Authority and the county with respect to it was not reviewed in the absolution of the environmental impact study. It was presented to the client and they determined they weren't interested in going further with that at this point in time, not their intention. So that is a restriction that will be effectively passed in the bylaw and will be site specific going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, that was all my questions. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Councillor, I apologize, I didn't hear. Are there any other questions?
No.
All right, members of council, is there anyone else that has a question? Councillor Hamilton, please.
Well, thanks, Mayor Robinson. Just a question about the deficient lot size. If you could speak to, I don't know, how deficient? Thank you.
And if I may, thank you through you, Madam Chair. It is whenever a lot is created and they're not to lot size, especially in rural areas, we have to recognize the deficient lot frontage in area. So typically in this particular circumstance, it would be that they needed to be at least 100 acres in size, so 20 hectares. It's just a matter of legality. It's not creating something that's smaller than would be expected. The minimum lot size under the county official plan is 2 acres, and they are meeting that by 0.8 hectares. So there's no deficiency that should be concerning to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anything further? Councillor Herger, please.
Yes, to the planner, please. There was notes in here about a clause to be provided to acknowledge odor, noise, smell are anticipated in farm areas. Will that be dealt with in the site plan, or how will that be dealt with, please?
Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, absolutely, that will be a clause. And it's a very typical clause that will be registered on title. So if and when the individuals sell the property or someone else purchases it, they understand that you are living in a farming community and your complaints with respect to normal farm practices are acknowledged at the foreset versus complaint basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of council, is there anything further with respect to questions of clarity? All right, I'm looking on screen and also in the chamber. All right, so the motion is that council receive Planner Spencer's report and proceed to consider first, second, and third reading of the bylaw at a future meeting. All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. So that motion is carried. Thank you. We are now moving on to 4.3 written comments received. Planner Spencer, if you could address this. Also identify if there are any further pieces of correspondence that have come forward. And I will also ask through a Madam CAO, but back to you if there's been anything received through our clerk's department or CAO. I have just received acknowledgement from the CAO that nothing else has been received. Over to you, Planner Spencer.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, the comments that have been received was pre-circulated for the applications. There's been extensive comment from the County of Grey. In addition to the Conservation Authority, we have resolved our concerns with respect to dealing with this through site plan control, and the environmental impact study has been reviewed and is acceptable, and identifying building envelopes. So there are no further concerns that have been received at this point in time, or comments, so to speak. At this point in time, we have not received any objections through the planning department, to my knowledge, also through the clerk's department, in objection to the application. And I've had no phone calls or messages to disrespect what's proceeding here at this point in time. So I stand by the recommendation, and nothing else has come forward through my department. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive response. 4.4 verbal comments. 4.4.1 council members. Are there any verbal comments from members of council? Seeing none. 4.2 public members. I wonder if corporate communications coordinator, could you please assist in helping me determine if there's anyone that wishes to speak either through online or phone, and that also includes agent or applicant at this time.
Through you, Mayor Robinson. For members of the public waiting to participate in this portion of the meeting, you may do so in one of two ways. The first being, if you've joined us via phone line, you can press *9 to raise your hand, and that will let us know that you would like to speak. After speaking, or if you raised your hand in error, you can press *9 again to lower your hand. If you have joined us using the Zoom meeting software, you can either send a chat message to myself, Sheila Ferguson, Communications Coordinator, either stating that you would like to speak or that you would like a message read on your behalf for the record. You can also raise your hand, usually located in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen with a blue or yellow hand icon. And at this time, Mayor Robinson, I'm seeing one member of the public wishing to speak, Christine Loft.
Thank you very much for that. Good morning, Christine Loft. It's your time to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning through the chair to council.
I'm sorry, Christine Loft. I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. It's one of the things I do not like to do. However, your audio is not very clear. I'm just wondering, solutions? Yes, please, if you could use your mic.
Yes, the mic is on.
Okay.
Are you able to hear me now?
Okay.
Thank you. I actually did have a brief presentation, but I do believe Ms. Spencer has covered the items off and responded to any council questions. So I will forego the presentation just due to the mic issues. So I am here to answer any questions on behalf of the applicant. Thank you.
Much clearer at that time. Thank you very much, Christine Loft. Okay, corporate communications officer, could you please identify if there's anyone else that wishes to speak to item ZA 15.2022 234330 concession to WGR?
Through you, Mayor Robinson, at this time, I'm not seeing any additional members of the public wishing to speak.
Thank you. Well, then we will move on to 4.5, next steps. Planner Spencer, please.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, at this point in time, should this committee, as a committee of the whole, feel acceptable to the application, it would be provided to council at a future council meeting with respect to reading first, second, and third reading. And beyond that point, they would be advised as the applicant and their agent that they will have the 20-day appeal period to proceed and go forward. Again, I just want to remind the members here today that this is also going forward for Committee of Adjustment this afternoon in a separate body. However, the applications both have been extensively reviewed, and I don't believe there should be any objection on either committee or council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And this being our public meeting for this application. We are now on item number 5, a closed public meeting. And I'll read the motion at hand, as our CIO does not have a mic, so I hope you don't mind if I do that. And the recommendation is that council hereby closes the public meeting at 9:21 a.m. Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Herger, and the seconder, Councillor Hutchinson. All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. Motion is carried. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you one and all. Enjoy your afternoon. And those of you that are coming back for Committee of Adjustment, the start time is 1 p.m. Thank you.